Hey guys, I'm here with Dr. Andrew Jagim. Did I say that right?
Got it.
University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. We're here in the Human Performance Laboratory. This is Andrew's stopping grounds here. Now, Andrew published a study that looked at Pre Jym. Now, it was an acute study, given one dose before an exercise challenge, which included bench press, squats, vertical jump, some other measures as well. I can let Dr. Jagim explain.
Yeah, so we were looking to see if taking a single serving of Pre Jym before an exercise bout could have any kind of impact on performance. So like you said, we had people do kind of a simulated workout. So we had them take it, and then we had them do a series of 5 sets of 5 for bench press, 5 sets of 5 for back squat, and then we were measuring bar velocity throughout those working sets to see if they could minimize fatigue, decline, or anything like that. And then we also did a repetition to failure set as a 6th set. And then they did a sprint test on their forced treadmill as well to see if it influenced anaerobic power. And the results are pretty promising. So
yeah,
I don't know if you want to touch on
yeah.
the
So I'll just sort of break down on my, on sort of my, because everybody, this is the thing is that people always ask me, oh, did you, have you ever read the book The China Study? And it's like, no, I don't read propaganda. You know what I mean? I call that propaganda. It's someone else's sort of theory that's taken. When someone reads a study, you may interpret it differently. Obviously, the statistics are differently, but there's certain things that you see and say, and then there's certain things that I saw. So my sort of breakdown of the study is, it was an acute study given Pre Jym approximately 30 to 60 minutes before the exercise testing, depending on what the exercise was and the other that was done. So they got one dose. Basically, what it did was it increased their endurance on the bench press. So basically, endurance strength, meaning, which is really important for people who are interested in building muscle and strength as well, because it's that that ability to get 10 reps on the last set or 12 reps in the last set. And we know that's what when you see a difference like 1 rep difference. Doesn't seem like a lot, right? But 1 rep difference in the real world, to be able to get 1 more rep with a weight is huge. You know what I mean? Especially exactly, especially when you're pushing yourself, and when you get trained athletes, the results stop. You know what I mean? As the more trained you are, the less results you see. So any little bit makes a big difference. So that's one of the things. The other things, like you said, you measure bar velocity, and few labs have the capability of doing that, or even the knowledge to understand why that's important. Power production and the ability to maintain power throughout those reps as fatigue sets in. And ingredients like beta-alanine can help buffer that fatigue, particularly, like I said, on power. It's there was a study on beta-alanine in boxers. So what they found was that beta-alanine doesn't just you don't take beta-alanine and it increases your knockout power. What happens is if you're a professional fighter and you're in round 3, you're able to punch with more explosive power than a guy who may not be using beta-alanine, and that's where it's important. You know what I mean? Right. Like this is so what you're measuring basically with bar speed is the ability to maintain power. Another, when we talk about, people think about fatigue and endurance, they sort of think about it as, running. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fatigued, I ran, so long. But few people really think of the fatigue that you get in bench press. Everybody thinks, well, did it increase your bench press strength? Your 1 rep max? Well, that's not the only thing that's important. What about your power? Were you able to maintain power through that training? Critical for an athlete to be able to maintain power through successive sets. So that's another thing that jumped out to me was the ability to maintain that power. And then if you want to jump in with some of the highlights that you...
Yeah, if we could pull up the figures on it, it's a clear-cut difference of the the supplement condition, they were better able to maintain bar velocity across each set. So as you described, as fatigue would typically set in in set 3, 4, 5, in that condition where they were consuming pre-gym, they were better able to maintain both peak and average velocities across each subsequent set for both bench press and back squat. So
Right. So
again, it wasn't a huge improvement, but
no, exactly. And again, like I said, it's the thing about pre-gym is it's not designed to be taken alone. I recommend taking it with post-gym because that's where you're getting your second dose of alanine, you're getting the second dose of betaine. Those are ingredients. It's important to get multiple doses, not just one dose. But also, I don't recommend it as a once in a while shot before a workout, like a lot of people think of pre-workouts. It's really a chronic supplement. The creatine isn't you can't take one dose of creatine or beta-alanine or betaine for that matter and get true results. Possibly to some degree, beta-alanine is now known to be a neurotransmitter and mild stimulant, has a stimulating effect. That's why you get that, the tingling. So it could give some acute benefit, but really the product is designed for more chronic. So even though, like I said, the word huge, it's not like, oh my God, he bench pressed 20 more reps. When he took pre-gym, 1 rep, after being fatigued. But it's like you said, it's pretty impressive. Yeah. And again, this is with just one dose of pre-gym.
And we saw the same improvements on that sprint test too. So they were having to sprint maximal effort for 25 seconds, and they generated more average power.
More power
during that test. And then I think some of the more interesting results that we found too were the subjective measures. So we also asked them, how are you feeling throughout that exercise trial? And again, the subjects when consuming pre-gym, they felt better, they felt less fatigued, and had greater focus for tasks.
Yeah, better focus, more alertness, which again, that's the caffeine combined with the LGBC, the huperzine, which can give better focus effect when combined at proper doses. And and that's important. That's what you want, pre-workout to do. Not to the point where your heart's racing and your head feels like it's going to explode. Yeah. But more mental alertness, more focus can help regardless of what the task is, whether it's bench press, whether it's you're out on a hike, military as well. Mental alertness is important. So, and for an athlete on the field, which would be interesting to see how an acute dose of pre-gym would work for someone like a soccer player, football player, where you're doing those repeat bouts. As the game goes, the fatigue sets in.
Yep.
Having more mental alertness, preventing that fatigue, could be definitely a big help. So now, what would you, I guess, if you did a follow-up study, what would you?
With that,
before we go into I just want to say, the study was, we don't personally know each other. Prior to meeting, but a lot of times supplement companies will give money to a university to get them to do. It's not payment to have a positive study, but it's the fun study, But just to be clear, my company, Jym Supplement Science, my parent company, PhD Fitness, did not fund the study. This is a completely independent study in the fact that Dr. Jagim decided to do the study on his own, use pre-gym on his own. So my question is, why did you decide to use
a lot
pre-gym?
A lot of people have asked that, and I think as a scientist, you try to remain as objective as possible.
Sure,
to go into investigating the product, but when that one came out of the market, it really jumped out at me because looking at the ingredient labels, I finally said, yes, there's an amount in there for caffeine that's actually worthwhile. Beta-alanine content is good, branching out. I was like, yeah, this one actually looks like it has some merit to it. So I personally started taking it, liked it, experienced improvements in my own training. I said, well, let's investigate this in more of a formal setting. So set up a study to look at some of the acute benefits, and again found it to be pretty promising. Not that it, again, you go in with that opinion, but I kind of had that idea that that outcome would happen. So, getting back to your question on what would be next, I think the cool thing would be to do the follow-up and look at chronic adaptation. So let's see what happens if people do take this every day before a training session for 8 or 12 weeks. Are we going to see enhanced training adaptations, better strength, maybe more favorable body composition changes, improvements in power?
And that would be a study that I would be interested in. And again, it's not to, bias the research, but to, just the research costs.
Right.
It's time, it's money, you need students to help, it's manpower. So you need subjects, you need to pay subjects. You need to convince them to give their time and donate their time for science. So that is definitely something that we could talk about, because that's the way I recommend using it, and even in the pre and the post, because you do need, like I said, beta alanine. 2-gram dose in Pre Jym. See that a lot of people think, oh well, it's not the proper dose. He says it's the proper dose of beta alanine. You need more beta alanine. Yes, that's why Post Jym, which has another 2 grams of the beta alanine. So getting chronic doses of those ingredients over time, I would definitely be interested in seeing.
Yeah, and some of them you wouldn't even need that long. Creatine, the loading phase of a week, and beta alanine a couple weeks. So it could make a pretty big improvement.
Yeah, but it's funny because the way I found out about the study was my colleague Tim Sheep said, "Hey, you should see this new study that's on a pre-workout. It sounds a lot similar to Pre Jym." So I went through the study. I said, "I'm pretty sure that's Pre Jym." I said, "I wish he'd contacted me and said, oh no, actually I don't wish. I'm glad he did, completely independent study. I didn't even know about the study. No clue about the study. So, like I said, I sort of wish you had contacted me. I definitely would have at least supplied the Pre Jym for you, so you wouldn't have to buy the Pre Jym. But then I was just like, actually, this is great, because I had no clue that you're doing the study. So, a completely independent study showing pretty impressive results. And so, a follow-up study would be great with chronic use. I think we both know. Obviously, we don't predict anything. Science is science.
Right.
I think clearly we know at those doses certain ingredients do provide beneficial such as why we're in this field. Why this is so exciting to us, because we do know that there are ways to increase human performance, ways to increase speed, muscle mass, decrease body fat, and I think that's really the hunger that sort of drives all this. Scientists is sort of like,
our own selfish.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. And that's sort of what I tell people. They thank me for the product, and I'm like, well, don't really thank me. It's pretty selfish, because I just simply wanted to make the products that I wanted to take. That's all I wanted. Period. You can have the one I made for myself too. So it's kind of, it is kind of selfish. That's how I got into the science. Is how do I make myself bigger and faster, stronger? You know what I mean? And does this have any merit? You see something working on yourself, and that's how, I'm my own guinea pig all the time. You know what I mean? Right. Every time, when I get into medium chain triglycerides, it's like what they, first I want to see what it does. Before I'm going to study them, let's see what it does in the gym. I get my buddies. When I was at UConn, Tim will tell you, when I was a student, doctoral student at UConn, and I was teaching the undergrad exercise physics courses, everybody knew I was, a weightlifter. So they would ask me, the students, what do you think of creatine? This is 1996. What do you think of creatine? And I'd say, oh, creatine is very, very effective. Trust me, just, take 5 grams, load it for, this is back in my professors would stop me and say, Jim, you can't. It's only there's not enough data. I've only got a handful of studies. And I said, Larry, I said, look, I've seen the research, it's impressive. I said, but I'll tell you, I use creatine. I said, every one of my training partners, almost everyone at the gym has started using creatine. We've all increased our muscle mass, our strength. I'm going to tell people it works.
Right.
So, you know, I've always been, you know, like, yeah, exactly. So it's, so I never like to sort of say, but I'm the guy. I think that's why, you know, when I saw that opportunity to work for Muscle Fitness and bridge that gap, it was a good opportunity because a lot of scientists are afraid to sort of make a recommendation. You know, you'll see, you know, you can watch it on NBC News. They'll interview a scientist. So you did a study, and they found that broccoli reduces cancer. So, are you saying that we should eat more broccoli? Oh, no, we're not saying you should eat more broccoli. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying that based on our results, they suggest that possibly you may get a slight benefit, a reduction in cancer if you're eating. You know, nobody wanted to go out there and say, yeah, give it a try. You know, you might want to try eating more broccoli. You know, what's wrong with that? You know, no one wanted to do that. So, you know, I've always been the one to sort of say, you know what, if it works in the real world, enough people, I'm going to start saying, yeah, give it a try. You know? And then the nice thing now is because I have, you know, the capability to reach so many people, is that when I give out those recommendations, I get that feedback from them.
Yeah, ongoing data collection.
I'm going by the thousands. And so that, you know, that feedback, and that's what's coming in, and you see one after the other just coming back. You know, like the simple reverse grip bench press tip I give. You need to increase your upper chest, try the reverse grip bench press. Research shows flipping your, you know, hands around about a 30% increase. Am I saying it's magic? No, but give it a try. By the thousands, people, oh my God, I've always had simply doing the reverse grip major difference. You know, and so then you say, there you go. Now that's a solid recommendation that you can make. We don't need to do a study. The study was done. It showed an increase in upper back muscle volume. All the real world data that's coming back to me now shows, yeah, it's actually activating more muscle fibers than the other things. People are actually getting, you know, better results. So it's just an interesting way of doing science.
Yeah.
You know, a different way of sort of collecting data. Obviously, it's not as controlled, but you know, a lot of the a lot of the Gym Army guys are a pretty controlled group. You know what I mean? I know the diet that they're following. I know what supplements they take. I know a training program. If they make a change, you know, if they added more branched chain amino acids to their diet, and we saw something, I pretty much would say that's a fairly controlled group within the people that.
And just the sheer numbers.
And
walk
that's
out
what I'm
any
saying.
kind of variability.
With the numbers, you know. And the nice thing is these are dedicated people. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I hope you're going to follow the program. You know, these are people that you know are, you know, dedicated to the program. So there is, you know, it's impressive and interesting results when you really sort of mine through all that.
Yeah. Future of science right there. Streamlining it.
It is. It's sort of, it's like I guess the social media aspect of science, because there's so, I mean, you get so much data when you think about it. You know, I'm constantly talking to people all the time. So you mine that data,